All right, good morning. Good morning. That was probably one of the funnest building workday announcements I've ever heard. Yeah, we'd love to see everybody here to help out with that. My name is Fred. I get to be the lead pastor here, and as Matt has said, today is Vision Sunday, where we get to talk about what we think and what we believe and what we hope God is going to be doing in the days ahead. And so I'm so glad you're here, whether you're here in person or whether you're joining us online. What I hope today is, I hope that it is not only informational, but I hope that it is also inspirational and that you can see yourself, no matter where you are, whether it's your first time here or whether you've been here since we started, that you can help find your spot in being who God has created you to be over these next 12 to 18 months. And so as we talk about Vision Sunday, just a little bit of my own personal history. Sometimes Vision Sundays have been really hard for me because there is this pressure to get up here and impress you, right, with words, and to give you a vision that is compelling and one that makes you go, yeah, let's storm the hill, or whatever the metaphor is, right? The problem is I'm not a storm the hill kind of guy, right? I am much more a let's plow the field together kind of guy, right? Like let's get in this and do this together. And for a long time in this role, that has been a challenge for me. And one of the things that I've learned, and one of the things that I'm learning, is that days like this don't have to be hard. They can actually be a lot of fun. And here's why. There's a very simple proverb that has helped me learn this. And let's be clear, a lot of counseling and discipleship has helped me learn this too, right? But the simple proverb is this. It's Proverbs 3:26. For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being snared. And so the stuff that I share today, the stuff that we share today as staff, is stuff that we have this confidence in the Lord in. And now, I'll be honest, my confidence isn't always in the Lord. Sometimes my confidence is based in people's approval. Sometimes it's based in your approval. And sometimes that still happens. And so the stuff that we present today has gone through this filter of God, what is it that you want for us? Not what is it that I want? And most dangerously, not what is it that I think y'all want? And I'm going to say it so that you'll like me. Because that's the most dangerous place to be, at least for me. And so these Vision Sundays, although they're fertile grounds for that part of me to take root, but one of the things that I've learned and am learning is that confidence doesn't come from a plan, it comes from a person. And our confidence is in Jesus. And don't get me wrong, I love plans. Remember that show, The A-Team? And how they'd always have a plan, it would always go wrong, and then what would I forget the guy's name who ran the team, but what would he always say at the end when everything has gone chaotic and somehow it's worked? He'd always say, I love it when a plan comes together, right? I love it when a plan comes together. I love plans, right? I love the ideas that flow from them, but what I love more and what today is centered in is in our relationship with the Lord. And Hezekiah was this king in the Old Testament, a king over Israel. And he was the one that kind of showed what confidence looks like in leadership, because Israel was worshiping all kinds of things except God. And he came in and moved the nation to worshiping God again, right? And he tore down the idols and tore down the places where they worshiped. And it was said of him in 2 Kings 18:6 that he held fast to the Lord and did not cease to follow him. That is where confidence is. It's holding fast to the Lord and doing what he says to do. And so this stuff that we talk about today will be from that place. Are y'all with me? It'll be from that place of us holding fast to the Lord and striving in the best possible ways to follow him, right? And so with that, everything that we share, I want you to know is we give God the glory for it, that we are thankful to him for it, and we are humbled and amazed because of it. All right? And so with that, the flow of this over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to do a real quick staff update. And so each staff person is going to come up here and do what we've called a 3-2-1. All right? They're going to give you in 2 to 3 minutes. In 2 to 3 minutes, they're going to give you the top 3 things that they are thankful to God for the last year of ministry. They're going to give you 2 things that they're looking ahead for this year, 2 things that excite them about this next year, and then 1 thing that they're going to ask you to either pray or partner with them in some way to help bring those things to fruition. And so the order is going to be Matt's first, Matt's second, or third, maybe fourth. Oh, he's up there doing sound stuff. Okay, so Matt will come up at some point. So it'll be Amy, Nathan, we have Carol on video, Matt at some point. All right, so Amy, why don't you come on up?
All right, just checking the mic. I'm Amy. I get to be the connections director here, and part of what that is just connecting people to the church and connecting the church to the community, nation, and world. So 3 things I'm excited about is over the last 12 months, we've had 48 people go through what we call Discovery, our Discovery Lunch. So numbers may not sound that fun, but the story behind that is of those 48 people who have come and attended a Discovery Lunch, 38 of you are still here. You're still calling Fellowship Asheville home. And if you are here and you've searched for a church home, you know it's hard. And we just want to praise the Lord that those 38 people have found a church home. And selfishly, I'm just really glad that it's here. Another thing that we've done is we've given away in the our last fiscal year, so that goes from July to June. We as a church have given away 14% of what came in. So we strive to be a church that gives more than we take, and you guys are part of that. So yeah, clap. We've given away 14%. I'm honored that I get to steward that and help lead that, but you guys are the ones doing it. So what does that mean for the numbers people? You want an exact number. So that's $86,230.55 that was given away last fiscal year to help ministry partners in the area, overseas, all the above. So thanks. Thanks for being part of that. And lastly is about the building. This is a great gift, as Matt said. But we've got more organizations using the building than we did, so that number keeps growing. So we've just added our 4th Narcotics Anonymous group that meets here on Tuesday mornings. And that's just great life-giving to help folks who are struggling with that. And then one thing coming up is we're going to be hosting the National Day of Prayer for Young Life in October. So Young Life across the nation and world is going to be praying on one specific day, and we get to host that. So it's just fun to see outside groups in our building. But 2 things that I'm looking forward to. Last year, you heard me talk about these 2 things, and God has worked through that. So I want to update you. We are having a new membership class. I know that sounds real fun, right? But we're going away from our COVID video that was recorded on Fred's iPhone. We're graduating. And we're going back in person. So there's going to be more depth, more just camaraderie around folks. So that's going to start on September 29th. So if you've gone through Discovery, come to membership class, which we're renaming, taking it back old school, DNA, just to learn the DNA of our church. And then the thing I'm really excited about as well is starting in November, we're doing some staff transitions, and Nathan, who's coming up next, gets to take over this lovely gift of the building. So in November, it will no longer be on my shoulders, but it gets to be on Nathan's. And I'm really excited about him taking that over, just because it's a great gift. And you guys are going to come on that building day, all of it. It's such a great way. We're excited for him. He's still going to be the student director, so students in the room, don't worry. He's student director with the additional responsibility of the facility. So we're excited for that. But then just what to pray for. And when I kept praying about, what is it? The word I came to is depth. I really want to see depth in our connections. That's why we have potlucks. It's to get us out of the rows and then meet more people, have deeper relationships. But it's also depth within our ministry partners. It is fantastic that we're giving away 14% of our money. But what does it look to really start building those relationships even more? How can we go in more depth with those ministry partners? So please join me in praying for that. All right, is it Nathan? Yep, Nathan, you're next.
Good morning. My name is Nathan. I get to be the FSM director here, and I guess also facilities director. I think that's the title. Yes, there's 2. So three things that I'm thankful for and excited that Jesus has done in FSM this past year. First and foremost, this might sound crazy, but I'm thankful for one additional female leader. All right, listen. That has been a prayer that I've been praying for the entire year, and it was answered probably around May coming into this year. And so I am actually super excited for Madison coming on and helping us with our high school ladies, but also just thankful for all leaders that we have, all of our leaders, from Donald, Heather, Tom, Andrew. Our leaders help make FSM run. Like, we can't do student ministry without these amazing leaders who love pouring into and walking alongside of our students here. And so they're a big part of FSM, and so just watching them, just give their time and just give their life, really, like showing and sharing their life for our students, whether it's through events, or just sharing difficult stories and whatnot. It's just really cool to watch them, be a part of our students' lives. And so parents, be encouraged. Other church members, be encouraged, because, we have amazing leaders pouring into the lives of our students. Second cool thing is watching our students move from a group to a family. I love that phrase, from a group to a family, because, whenever I first started, watching them come in, they would have fun. They'd kind of go to their own little groups, like their smaller groups, play some games. But throughout this past year, watching them kind of expand, kind of go out of their comfort zone, making sure everyone that shows up, that attends, feels welcome, but also including them and kind of moving from that group to a family dynamic, and just loving on and caring for, each other. And so that's really exciting. That's been an answer, a prayer from mine. I'm just really thankful, and I consider that a win for FSM. Third thing, win. We took 15 of our students on a summer retreat this past beginning of August. And so, watching them, we kind of talked about this, kind of took Practicing the Way and did a student version of that. But watching them all come together and be really intentional about their time, whether that's small group, in worship, in our talks, in quiet times by the pond. We had fishing competitions, hikes in the rain. Like, it was just a really fun opportunity and a really intentional time for our students to really, dive into their relationship with Jesus and ask, what does it look like to actually walk with him? And so that's just a really awesome foundation moving forward, through the next couple of years for FSM. Two things I'm looking forward to. First is kind of a parent/guardian lunch, because I know that there's people that are in care of students who aren't necessarily their parents. But what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be hopefully feeding you good food, soul food. Hey, it's like some baked spaghetti, some chicken Alfredo, like these really good food. Matt's shaking his head. Matt might come. Just really this opportunity on a Sunday afternoon, whenever FSM is going on, we're going to want to kind of meet with you as parents, as guardians, and kind of just kind of talk about discipling your students. What's going on in the life of students? Hey, how can we digitally disciple our students? What does that look like? What does it look like to have conversations about developing quiet times? How can we develop those rhythms of life, for our students in our family structure? And so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really excited to see those begin. But then also, kind of a continuation. The second thing that I'm excited for is our campfire nights. And we have started this already. But to watch this kind of grow, we've had throughout the summer 2 opportunities, because in our present future statement that we have here at Fellowship Asheville, for our students, it is to have them know every adult by name, to know them by name as they serve throughout the church, right? And I want to kind of expand that a little bit and say, hey, listen, it's not just through service, but being able to see the adults outside of service, maybe going to their house, doing campfire nights, hanging out, but getting those people who host those nights to share their walks with Jesus with our students and open themselves up to even questions. And the things that we've seen so far, is really engaging conversations between the adults and the students as they have shared what it's like to walk with Jesus a little bit longer than they have, but then our students really engaging with these adults who have hosted. And just really asking some questions and diving deeper about what it looks like for them and how they can apply, those things that they heard from these adults to their lives. And so we're going to want to continue that. And so I'm really excited as that moves forward. So if you're interested in even doing that, shameless plug, by all means, we'd love to have you host and be a part of that as well. And then lastly, the thing that I need prayer for is, as Amy talked about, is this new role. I'm going to be taking over the building. And so, taking over the building role. Okay, there we go. Yeah, taking over the building role. But this is going to be one of those areas where it's going to be like a total dependence, and not on my skill, but on God's ability through me to do this. And so, just be in prayer for me as that new role is going to be taken on. So, yeah, I'm going to call it Matt now.
Thanks, Nathan. Over my kind of primary role is over the worship ministry. And so 3 things that's been really fun in the last year. Since COVID kind of kicked off, this last 12 months has been the first time that we've gone a full 12 months without having to hire someone that's not a part of our church to come lead worship. And so our worship, when you see the folks up here singing, leading in worship, it's all members of our church, that this is their service that they provide. So that's really exciting. Another fun thing has been we've had about 7 new volunteers join the worship and production. So when we say worship, it's what you see down here, but it's also hiding behind those 14 monitors up on what we call the bridge. Because of so many monitors, it's like a spaceship, the bridge of a spaceship up there. And so that's been really fun. The third thing that's been really fun and exciting is it's not something we see on Sunday mornings, but we feel the effect of is our Wednesday morning prayer meeting at 11:30. We've talked about it before. We've had consistent just folks showing up to pray. Sometimes it's me and Christy. Sometimes it's just Christy. Sometimes, like this week, we meant to cancel. I forgot to announce it last week. And I was out of town on a conference, and I saw on the Ring app that a few people showed up to pray anyways. And so that's just neat to see how God's kind of making that a part of our church. And so 11:30 on Wednesdays, if you have some free time, the sanctuary is open, just some soft music playing. It's just time to be with Jesus. And so if that's something midweek that would be good for you to have, come on. We'd love to see you here. 2 things coming up in this year that I'm excited about. One thing is we're going to start having maybe quarterly, maybe 3 times a year, like a prayer and worship night. So Sunday mornings are intentionally, centered around the Word of God, where we're hearing God's Word spoken to us and taught to us. Prayer and worship night's a little differently, where it's really seeking God, seeking to connect, a chance to come, worship, pray, and instead of intake, like on Sunday mornings can be a lot of time, it's expressing and calling out to God. And so be on the lookout for those and the emails and announcements coming up. Hoping to get one this fall. We've got one on the calendar, and so be looking for some information on that. Another fun thing that I'm looking forward to coming up is just to add a few more layers to our worship team on stage. And so if you've noticed the last year, because we're trying to do it member-led instead of contracting out musicians and worship leaders to come lead worship, you've probably noticed that if you have attended fellowship for a long time, we don't have the stage as full as it used to be. That's because it takes a lot of people and money to make that happen. And so going through the last few years, we've felt like less is more in our worship ministry, but now there's some more folks wanting to get involved, some vocalists, 1 or 2 more musicians on stage. So excited to just add some different layers to our worship instead of just like one vocalist and an instrument. And then one thing to pray for, this is more praying for you and for us collectively, is anytime that we go into a worship service on Sunday morning, there's 3 words that we think through as a staff team. It's formation, encounter, and mission. So we're asking Jesus, what can we do to form us into your image? What can we provide to encounter you? And what can we do to call the people into the mission of the church? And so that's just, if you want to write those 3 words down, maybe on Sunday mornings as you're driving in, you're just thinking through those 3 words. Jesus, how can we be formed into your image? How can I encounter you today? And then how are you calling me into your mission? So those 3 words, just pray through those on Sunday mornings. And so that's for the worship ministry. For the kids ministry, Carol recorded a video. And so the reason why there's a change up is because we were having technical difficulties getting the sound to play from the computer. And by technical difficulties, I mean I forgot to do it this morning before the service started. And so I hustled up there. And so let's try to play the video and see what happens. You guys are...
I'm the Director of Children's Ministry here at Fellowship, and I'm so excited to share with you some of the highlights from this past year and a few things that we're looking forward to as well. So firstly, it's been inspiring to watch our families make church a central part of their lives, from parents dedicating themselves to raising their child in a Christ-centered home, through child dedications, to our precious little ones making connections with God, and witnessing kids take important steps of faith like baptism. Every moment has been a testament to God's work in the lives of our families and in our ministry. Secondly, I've loved seeing our families build strong connections and relationships with one another. Our community has come together to nurture bonds, supporting each other through various life stages, and it's just heartwarming to watch these connections and to see them to continue to foster. Thirdly, observing our students discovering their unique gifts and finding ways to serve has been a joy. Their enthusiasm and dedication to using their gifts for God's work is truly inspiring. Looking ahead, I'm eagerly anticipating welcoming new families into our church. We have the most welcoming and gifted group of volunteers, and really just the kindest set of kids to welcome new friends. And while we believe that careful planning and organization is a strong foundation, we know it's ultimately the Lord that does the incredible work in our lives and in our ministry. And I look forward to seeing what He'll do this year in our ministry. And one thing you can do is to join us in prayer that our kids would continue to make meaningful connections to the Lord, and that they would make decisions to know, love, and serve Jesus. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey. Your support and prayers mean more than we can say, and we look forward to continuing this wonderful adventure with you. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
All right. Oh, Nathan. Yeah, you left your phone up here. I'll just leave it up here, as long as it's on silent. All right, so that's some updates from our staff. Now, because this Vision Sunday has 3 different parts, what I want to do next is update you on survey results. Isn't this fun? So here's why. This is our 2nd year to do this, so I feel disingenuous saying every year, but every year since last year, we have given a survey, and then we've asked those same questions this year, because what we're trying to do is last year was to build a baseline on the spiritual health, the self-reported spiritual health of our congregation, and then this year we asked the same questions to see where we are in a given year, because from last year's results, there were things that we wanted to focus on. And so what I'm going to do is go through those very quickly so you can see, because there's some interesting insights and some stuff for us to continue working on as a church. And so the first one I want to highlight, I'm not going to go through all the questions, and I'll read these to you because it's a little hard to see. But the first question was, I actively enter relationships and environments with non-believers to demonstrate what a life with Jesus can be. Right? And so in 2023, you had 46.9% said seldom, and then never. So it really is about 50-50, right, between yes and no or seldom. Well, in 2024, you see that often, the blue one, has grown. And so what that means is that we have more people now actively and intentionally entering relationships with non-believers for the purpose of being able to show them what life with Jesus can be. And so I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good growth. The next one in 2023 is I share my story of following Jesus with those who aren't following Jesus. So this one takes it a little bit deeper. It's not just saying, hey, I want to be in relationships with non-believers. It's, am I in relationships with non-believers in a way that I get to share the story of Jesus with them, that I get to tell them about who Jesus is. And so what we saw in this one was a little bit of the opposite, in the fact that, no, that's not true. We did see growth, because in 2023, you had 15% was often. In 2024, you see that grow 5% to 20%. And so there's a little bit of growth there. But what's also interesting is there's a little bit of growth in the yellow, which is never. So we had growth in one, growth in the other. So what that means is that sharing our story of following Jesus needs to be an emphasis in the next year so people can just feel more comfortable in doing that, is what we hope happens. Also, in 2023, this one I found real interesting, because there was some conversation about this one. In 2023, we said, I currently have someone I go to for discipleship and mentoring in my spiritual life with Jesus. In other words, that the people that answered this said, yes, I do have someone that disciples me, that mentors me, someone that I can look to when I don't know what to do. I have someone I go to. In 2023, about 72% said yes. In 2024, it was a major decline to only 45% said yes. So we saw a big decrease of people having someone that they can go to for mentoring and discipleship. And part of that, we were like, well, we did the survey during summer, so is that why? Because we say currently, maybe because they're not in a growth group currently, they said no, right? Kind of makes sense until you see the next one. Because the next one was, I currently have one or more persons I am discipling in their spiritual life, that I am pouring into. So I'm the person that they come to. In 2023, 40% said yes. In 2024, almost the exact same number, 39% said yes. So it can't be that it's summer because on pouring your life out, you understood the task. On getting poured into, there's a decline. So what that means, church, is that if you're a person who's been walking with Jesus for a while, we would love to see you step into those places of mentoring moms, to be able to mentor these younger moms. What it also means, men who have been walking with Jesus for a while, you need to talk to me and Matt because we need something like mentoring moms for the guys, because we don't have anything. Because younger people need older, more experienced, wise people who have been walking with the Lord to tell them it's okay. Right? To tell them that's not okay. Right? That's what needs to happen. 2023, if I miss the Sunday service, right? So whether you're watching online or in person, if you miss the Sunday service, you either listen to the podcast, watch on Facebook, YouTube, or church online, or don't listen at all. It's that yellow part that we wanted to pay attention to, that I don't listen or don't catch up at all if I miss it. And so that was 52% in 2023, and it was in 2024, 49%, so it went down. And what we saw growth in was listening to the podcast. That's just interesting. I read my Bible. This one was kind of fun. In 2023, 69% said that they read their Bible daily or a few times a week. In 2024, it went up to 75%. So there's growth in the church actually reading their Bible. Yay! Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? This one I thought was real interesting. In 2023, it says, I feel like I can trust the elders and staff at Fellowship Asheville. Yes is the blue. So 100% of people said yes, we feel like we can trust the elders and staff of Fellowship Asheville. Do you know what happened in 2024? It stayed the same. 2024, yes. I keep thinking one day, and please don't do this because I will hunt you down. I keep thinking, what? It's anonymous. No, it really is anonymous. But I have an idea. I just keep thinking somebody's going to be like the person that goes, I'll show them. No. Right? I trust them, but I'm not going to say yes. No, if you don't trust us, let's have a conversation. That's the way that happens. And then you can say yes. All right, I pray. So this is interesting. In 2023, 88% of people said that they pray many times a day or at least once a day. In 2024, that went up to 97% of people said that they pray many times a day or at least once a day. Like as a church, we're reading our Bible and we're praying. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Just a couple of more. In 2023, my current rhythm of fasting, 70% of people said that they currently don't fast or have a rhythm of fasting. Guess what happened in 2024? Stayed the same, 70% of people. And here's why, because we haven't talked about it. We haven't done anything about it, right? And we said we would, but then we pushed it back because we wanted to put it into proper context of dealing with our identity in Christ first, doing the Sermon on the Mount to kind of hear what Jesus thinks about this kingdom life. And then in the fall, later on in a few weeks, we're going to start the Rhythm series where we're going to talk about fasting, and our growth groups are going to do it kind of as a lab. So that's coming. But what that also shows us is that 30% of our church is fasting at some level, which is cool because that means there's 30% of people that we can learn from that are already engaged in this discipline, which I think is a good discipline. And then finally, I volunteer my time to serve at Fellowship Asheville. 77% of people said that they serve weekly, every other week, or at least once a month, which kind of captures most rotations. And then this year, 2024, 69% of people said they did that. So even though that's a decrease, that's still really good. Most churches, it's 20% of the people doing all the work. And we have basically 70% of people. We've almost flipped that to where we have 70% of people that are volunteering in some way on Sunday to help make church happen, which is pretty awesome. So what that means is areas of focus are going to be evangelism. As a church, let's get comfortable saying the name of Jesus in front of people and talking about what it means, what he means in our lives. Let's get comfortable receiving discipleship and being discipled, being mentored. What you're going to see too with this Sunday service, if you miss Sunday, we would love for you to listen and catch up. Because here's the deal. We believe what we do up here on a typical Sunday is part of our discipleship process. Hearing God's word taught to you from the pulpit is part of discipleship. And so if you miss a Sunday, we encourage you to either engage online at 10 o'clock while we're having the service, or catch up during the week so that we can all be part of this discipleship part together. And then one of the things we're even thinking about doing, and I'd love your feedback real quick, is we're thinking about just sending out an email that's almost like an executive review of the message. Like if you miss it, here's the bullet points from it. Would that be helpful? Would that encourage you to go back and listen to it more? Like kind of help you capture the idea? Yeah, okay. Because with ChatGPT, that is real easy now. Right? I dropped my transcript in there and I said, hey, give me 3-point bullet points. And I was nervous because I'm like, this is the test. If I actually communicated what I wanted to communicate. Because if it pulls 3 bullet points out that have nothing to do with it, obviously it would be wrong. But in case it's not, that means I didn't communicate well, right? And so it nailed it. I was like, I love these 3 bullet points. So it just showed that in 3 seconds, we can develop those bullet points to send out super easy after we review them. Okay, so that's the survey results. Wasn't that thrilling? Yeah. All that to say, Fellowship Asheville is a pretty cool place. We read our Bible, we pray, we trust our leaders, like the leaders that God has put above us and with us, and so that's pretty cool. I love that. Because of that, now we're going to transition to the last part, and then we've got to speed this up, Matt. So Matt, come on up. Let's get some, so we're not awkwardly standing there.
Feel free to stand up and stretch if you need to. And also, just on that, and you may have said this, why in those surveys we don't talk about budget or attendance is because what all the things Fred went through, those are what the vision actually is. The budget and the amount of people showing up just fuel those things, that they're not the vision. So just...
Yeah, the sometimes in this, there is this, here's been our attendance average the last year. Here's our finances. You get a financial update almost every month, so you know our finances. We have leveled out lower than we need to be, and so we're making adjustments. Attendance, look around. That's who's here.
We have this many people here today.
Yeah. What Matt's saying is true. What God asks us to do is not based on how much money is in the account or how many people are showing up. It's based on what God wants us to do, right? So So thank you. It was there, and I just passed right over it. All right, so if you're new to Fellowship, let me kind of update you a little bit on part of the big picture of Fellowship Asheville. Matt is transitioning into the role of lead pastor. It has been a 7-year process, and so what we're going to do is kind of catch you up on why that is, where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going. So as far as where we have been, do you want to share like how this started quickly, and then I'll kind of fill in why, the why behind it. But yeah.
Yeah, Anna and I were asked to pray about planting a church in Boone because we're from the area. My ministry experience has been in church planting, part of church plants. And so as we were praying about it, Anna was like, hey, you should reach out to a pastor who's planted a church and seems to be like doing okay. And so I was working at a church in Asheville. I emailed Fred. He was kind enough to meet with me. And so he met with me for about almost every month for the better part of 2 years. And as Anna and I prayed, and we really felt like the Asheville area is where God kind of was calling us and had us, Fred said, well, great. I remember he said specifically, I'm not getting any younger, so why don't you come pray about being my associate, and we'll start a transition plan for you to become the lead pastor here, which sounded great. And then a month later, COVID happened.
Yeah.
And so that slowed down the
That slowed down,
process.
slowed down the onboarding process a little bit. And the reason I said that to Matt is because one of the things that I knew when I turned 50 in this role, I knew that things needed to change because of this very simple data point, and then the narrative side of it too. I've seen it happen a lot, that as the lead pastor gets older, so does the church. And data shows that as the lead pastor gets older, the average age of the church is 10 years above him or 10 years below him. That's the range that you're looking at. That's not the average. That's the range. He or she kind of becomes the average point. And so when I turned 50, I kind of pulled some data, and I was like, oh, that is what's happening. As my family gets older, there's not as many young families attending. Right? The age of the church started creeping up. And I realized very quickly, I do not want to be 60 years old and still be in this role, because then that tide is really hard to turn backwards. And so I started the process of praying through and looking, what would it mean for me to have somebody else step into the lead pastor role? Because I love this church. Obviously, God is doing some really cool things in this church. And as the church gets older, do you know what happens? Do you know what the next phase after old age is? Death, right? And I don't, no offense. No, I mean, spoiler, that is the next stage, but I don't want that to happen. I love this church and I want it to continue. And so so that's what, allowed me to look at him and be like, hey, if this is something, you and Anna pray about it and think about it, but I know this is where I'm headed. This is where God is leading me, and it seems like you would fit here. And so when we hired Matt, we hired him knowing that he was going to step into this lead pastor role and that it was going to be a 7-year transition plan, right? Because I was telling some friends of ours, about this transition plan, and they're not in the church world at all. And I said, it's a 7-year transition plan, and they come from the corporate world, and they were like, that is so long. And I was like, well, churches are different. I said, we preach from a book that's thousands of years old. Change is not a favorite word in the church. Right? Like it takes time to do it well and to do it in a healthy manner. And so that's why we gave ourselves 7 years. And so where we are in that process is we are right smack dab in the middle of it. We are right in the middle of that transition plan. And because we're right in the middle of that, Matt has taken on more responsibilities to kind of gear up for this lead pastor role. He has taken on more teaching and planning. He has taken on attending elders meetings. He is not a voting elder, but like when I went through seminary, you know what class they never offer? How to run a meeting. How to lead a church. how to lead elders and how to like do all that. And so I've wanted him to be a part of those meetings to see what happens and to begin to get a feel for the DNA of the elder team, so that when he is a lead pastor, which by the way, as a lead pastor, you are not the lead elder. There are two places as a lead pastor you cannot serve on the elder team. One of those is the chairperson, and the other one is the one who takes the minutes, because both of those are positions of power. And so the lead pastor does not take either one of those, which is great to not have to take the minutes. Right? Nobody wants to take the minutes, but it has to get done.
Yep.
But they are positions of power, which is why as lead pastor here, we do not have those. But I've wanted him to be a part of those meetings. So he has been. He's begun taking over some administrative duties, not your favorite thing. Not my favorite thing either, but part of leading a church is doing those type things for sure. And then, like I said, attending elders meetings as a non-voting member. Anything else that you can think of that I missed on those bullet points that you've already started taking on?
I don't think so.
Okay. What still needs to happen, right? Okay. So what still needs to happen, that's the third part. What still needs to happen is more responsibilities transition over to Matt. So what that means is staff leadership and development are going to start transitioning into him. And so every 2 weeks, I sit down with each staff and we have one-on-ones. And part of that is to help them align with their goals, to check in and see how they're doing spiritually, see how they're doing emotionally, just to see what's going well, what's not. And we do that every other week. And then every week we have all staff meetings. And so Matt will begin transition into leading those. He'll sit in with me on those one-on-ones, and then eventually he will be having them, and I'll sit in with him as he leads them, and then eventually I won't be a part of them. The communication of the vision of the church and the implementation of that vision will begin to transition to him. And so one of the things that we've talked about is even our vision statement right now, the way it's worded because it makes sense to me. Eventually, I would suspect, actually I can't say that because we've talked about it. I know the vision, the articulation, the words of the vision will change because they need to come from God through Matt and not through me anymore. And so you'll find out more about that as this transition of leadership takes place. There'll be more administrative duties, yay. And when I'm not lead pastor anymore, Matt will become, when he becomes the lead pastor, he will become a voting elder at that point, and then I won't be, right? So, with all that, the reason we're talking about it, one, is because we talk about it all the time, us. We don't get to talk about it in front of y'all very often, but we want to do that. And because that transition, the passing of the baton, is a year away, like particularly a year from this Sunday. So September 14th, 2025, save the date. Because it is going to be Fred's peace out party. But I'm not like peacing out. I'm not peacing out. I'll talk about what it means for me. I just won't be lead pastor anymore. I pass the baton to him. And anything else you want to add to that? Because I'm going to start talking about what this means for me. But how are you doing? Are you excited about it? Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Ready or not? All right,
I think we're moving a little fast. But that's been a few times, like Fred's come in my office and be like, hey, let's go ahead and roll this thing. And I'm like, no. You said 7 years.
Yeah. But the way that we designed it is that the transition takes place a little past the middle of that 7 years, so that it's not a 7-year on-ramp and then a cliff. We've wanted it to be like in the middle so that I can still be here as he's being the lead pastor. Because, if you've been in church for a while, you've seen that. It's like this sudden transition from one pastor to another, and it's never really that great. But this slow, steady transition hopefully is better. What it means for me is that when I don't have the title of lead pastor, by God's grace, I will still be here on staff as it's redundant for you English majors, and it's redundant for me too, but I'll be the shepherding pastor, right? Because that's kind of my role anyway. which means I will be doing teaching. So I'll still be up here teaching some. I'll be doing counseling. I'll be doing groups, leading groups, helping those groups get off the ground, stuff like that. And I'll be doing whatever else my pastor will ask of me to do, which will be great fun. What that also means, one of my personal long-term goals, the next lane that I'm going to be adventuring into is the travel industry. My wife has a travel agency. We've opened it together. I've been kind of on the back end and helping a little bit, but we know the long-term plan is that I will move into that more full-time. We don't have a specific date for that. I will still be here, but I say that because you're going to start seeing on social media posts where I'm doing stuff in the travel world as a travel advisor, as a booking member of Dogwood Travel. Don't freak out, right? Don't freak out and go say, he's gone. He's on a cruise. He's never coming back. I mean, first of all, that's always a temptation, right? But I will be coming back. That's the plan that God has laid out for us. Now, as with every plan that God lays out, we're open for him changing it as he wills. But that's the best of our ability to see kind of what's ahead and what that looks like, all right? So, with that, what that means, too, is that throughout this next year, you know, Matt talked about prayer and worship nights. We're also going to have some town hall meetings. If y'all have questions about this, that's what that's for. Or shoot me an email. I'd love to grab coffee with you or something like let's talk about this. But here's what I ask, is that talk about this with me and Matt, right? If y'all start talking about it with each other, you know what that can turn into real quick? Fear. And fear leads to gossip. Fear leads to all kinds of dangerous places. So let's just not. Let's talk about it with me and with Matt. And let's talk about it in town hall meetings. Does that sound good? All right. Anything else you want to add?
No, quickly, this, you know, we had the Olympics this summer.
Oh,
And
I'm
so
gonna say that.
the illustration that I stole from Fred is, you know, in the relays, there's that transition period where they're handing off the baton, and that's the only time that those elite athletes look a little awkward, okay? So Fred and I, as the elite athletes in this illustration,
One more elite than the other.
this next year plus is gonna feel like that awkward phase of handing off the baton, because what this is gonna look like coming up quickly is because of the transition plan where we are, like, I will be preaching more than Fred. Fred will still be leading other parts of the church. There's going to be time where you're going to have the question of, like, who's over this? And the answer is yeah. And so just know, like, we feel it too. And so if there's that awkward moment, like Fred said, talk to us about it. And then another thing is, like Fred said, change is scary. But, you know, I heard this listening to this conference that these pastors who had been through a transition plan like Fred and I are on, is that change, like, growing things change. And so if you think about the data that we just looked at, growth, the way we measure it, spiritually being formed in the image of Jesus, we're growing as a church. Growing things change, and healthy things grow. Okay, so let's just remember that as we're changing, change is not bad. It's a mark of health and a mark of growth, especially the way Fred has been leading through it and the elders have been leading through it. So that's all I got.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that. You stole my one thing because I haven't done my 3, 2, 1 yet. So because mine, I didn't do my 3, 2, 1s because I have some spoilers, and I'll just do it real quick. My 3 wins from this last year are our staff culture. Going through times like this can be really hard on the staff. We have a great time together, and we have tough conversations together, and we laugh together. Like we have a great time together. And as a staff, we are growing with Jesus together. And when I look at you know, if you think about church as these circles, if the staff and elder team, and I'd say the same thing about the elder team, if the staff and elder team are healthy, it means the church has a much better chance of being a healthy church as well. And so I think that's a big win. The survey results about trusting the elders and the staff, I consider that a big win. So I love that. And the fact that we had 110 adults in groups over the last year, and I'd love to see more of that. So that's my 3 wins. The 2 things I'm excited about are more group opportunities for people to get connected, and then just continuing this transition plan, because y'all, this is a big deal. It's a big deal to do this, and we want to do it right, and we want to do it in a way that glorifies God, that we can look back and have no regrets over and be thankful, humble, and amazed by. And then the one thing I need is, as Matt said, prayer and grace as towards us. As we pass this baton, like if you watch those Olympic relay, you see these incredible elite athletes run like they're a kid at a park, right? They slow down, and they're running with one hand behind them and one hand in front of them, right? But what they're focused on, they slow down, because they can't run at top speed when they're trying to pass the baton, right? They focus on the task at hand. They've got to pass that baton right, or they're disqualified. That's where we are. And because of that, we need grace from you. And we need understanding from you that things are going to go slow, but we're going to do our best to make sure they're done right. And so with that, I will pray for us, and then I think we're going to worship another song of worship and then dismiss, right? Yeah, let me pray for us. Jesus, thank you for this church, and thank you for what you're doing in and through this church. It is encouraging. It is growing. You are taking us and aligning us with you in ways that we didn't expect. And so for that, I'm grateful. And continue to do that. Continue to align us with who you are.